Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 58 of One with the Films. I have with me Sue of Sue's Theories and Saint Pat _ Separatist Rebel, or Pat. And we're going to go ahead and kick off. This is live taping, so yeah, if you're in the chat, say hey, hang out. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, cool. I haven't decided what voice I'm going to do for this, but I think it'll just be my voice. Or I can be like Dark Helmet himself. The evil leaders of Planet Filmy have foolishly squandered their planning of upcoming life events that would impact their ability to be together on their famous podcast. Thus, we have devised a secret plan to take our favorite people from all corners of the internet and blackmail them into co-hosting a podcast episode in the absence of our revered Keegan. Today, Princess Sue of Planet Theories is to be married. Wait, sorry, hold on. I had the wrong script up, sorry. Co-host is to be co-host. It's the wonderful, remarkable, artistic, creative, intelligent rock star that she is. She brings everything she has to Planet Filmy for this very special broadcast of One with the Films. Sue, thank you so much for being here. Please say hello to your royal subjects. Me.
Thank you. Thanks, Steph. Happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you as well. And who else but St. Pat of Stars would bring us this masterful classic parody by Mr. Mel Brooks? This latter's immaculate taste in films, a radiant energy that'll warm your cold soul, and his own line of merchandise, because that's where the real money is. And remind me, buddy, just to get the name of your supplier. But anyway, say hey.
Hey.
And please, guys, if you're listening to this and you clip it, please do something with that green shirt. Like, it's just asking to be memed. It's asking to be memed.
Don't put that up.
For better view.
That's it, baby. And a reminder to all our listeners that you can find One with the Films on all your favorite podcasting platforms of choice, as well as live and on demand right here. And if you're in the live chat, please feel free to join in the conversation. We always love to hear from you. But if you are listening on demand, don't worry, we still love you anyway. That being said, before we get into the depths of this film, Sue, do you want to tell us a little more about what we're doing here today?
Absolutely. Typically, Watch This is what happens when a bunch of friends with unique and wonderful taste in films have tried too hard for too long to finally share and discuss their favorite films with one another. And if you've been around for a while, you already know the shtick. However, if for the uninitiated, the idea is for every episode, at least one person is watching the chosen film for the first time. Today it's Naf. It's all about having a space for creators to share the art that matters most to them and give them a platform to show us all why. So if you like listening to a bunch of nerds geek out and force each other to watch and discuss their favorite films for the first time, feel free to follow or subscribe. Send us to your friends if you like, and you can activate notifications so you never miss a new episode. And of course, we're all on your favorite social media link, and links are in the description below.
Amazing. So yeah, weekly watch list, baby. We got Spaceballs today, I'm hearing. So Pat, this is on you, baby. What is this? Tell me more about this brilliant film that not enough people have seen.
So, of course, this is Spaceballs by the fabulous director, writer, and Grammy winner, Mel Brooks.
Grammy winner.
Because he writes a lot of the songs. He's also won a Tony.
Okay,
too.
Cool. But he hasn't got an EGOT yet.
No EGOT. He doesn't do TV.
There it is.
But came out in 1987, so after all the original Star Wars films have come out, and this is what happens if you take the SNL cast, give them the script to Aladdin, and send them into space.
Holy shit! Yeah, no, that's a pretty good elevator pitch.
Yeah,
it's right on the money. I like it. Yeah, kind of like okay, yeah, that's amazing. And like as Sue was saying before, so for me, this was my first time going into the film. I'll talk about that experience in a little bit. But Sue, when I asked you if you wanted to come on for Spaceballs, you jumped at it straight away. You're like, Spaceballs is amazing. Yes. So tell me a little bit more about your relationship to this film. Have you seen it a lot of times or?
I've seen it a few times. I can't remember how many, but definitely saw it a bunch of times as a kid and growing up. I haven't seen it in a really long time, so I rewatched it today. And yeah, it's still, I forgot just how much fun I have watching this film. Yeah. I laughed quite a bit, but I do remember it being entertaining, crazy, wild, and like all of the pop culture references from that time are in there. So it's a fun watch.
Hell yeah. And like how did you come to it for the first time? Was it like shared by like a parent or a friend or like just kind of found it?
Yeah, my dad.
Oh, amazing.
He's the one who introduced me to like Star Wars and just sci-fi in general. And after we'd watched Star Wars a bunch of times, I don't know how he found out about Spaceballs, probably through knowing about Star Wars. We watched that as well. And like whenever it was on TV,
Yeah.
And we were free for a night, we'd put it on and watch.
So good. I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. And what about for you, Pat? So this is the film you chose, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you came to this film for, say, the first time.
Oh, so this film shaped who like was one of those films that like shaped who I am, my personality, all that, and same way that I got introduced in Star Wars through my mother, and it's a huge, big bonding point for me and my mother. There's a little we'll be in situations and we'll be like give me paw and we do the little handshake that Lone Starr and Barf do. I'll be like we'll be doing something, I'll say, prepare to do this, and she'll say, prepare to do this, or like, do this, and she'll do that, and then she'll add, praying to God. I'll go praying to God, and she introduced this to me like when I was young, because I used to come into a room, and we just watch movies.
Yeah.
Together. She'll just say, "Hey, let me show you this movie," and we'll just go in. We'll hang out in her room, and we would watch. And so this was like I had to be like elementary school. I want to say 7, 8 years old, and she put this on, and I just fell in love with it. I think I stole her copy of it that she like because I watched it so much, her DVD,
So
and it
good.
just became mine. It's just one of those comfort movies I
Yeah.
love and I enjoy. And again, it shaped personality, likes in movies and stuff like
Well,
that.
like, yeah, your what's it called? Clip that you sent me last week is like it's one of the best ones we've got. That's why we have like a really good streak of them right now. Like Pep the previous week using the Force to bring a little book in and open it up and all that. And yours having like visual effects in it, like you versus you. Like, it was great. So you did a great job. But
Thank you.
how many times do you reckon you've watched this movie?
Oh, probably getting way up in the double digits.
Yeah.
If I would have to break it down mathematically, I'd probably say I watch it at least 9 times a year since
Dude,
I first started.
that's so good.
Wow.
Oh my god,
That's
it's
awesome.
very, very impressive. I was telling Sue just before we jumped on, like I actually knew very little about this film. I knew that it existed, but even till my first watch a couple of days ago, I didn't know much about it. Like most of the jokes were all fresh to me. Like the only thing that I saw is what we kind of used on the thumbnail is Lone Starr kind of holding his lightsaber in an interesting position. So I remember in school people would do that, and I would just look at them and be like, "Do you guys even understand Star Wars? Like it's not called the Schwartz." And then I realized that's what it was. But yeah, like bar that, I got to experience all these jokes essentially for the first time, like unspoiled. Like it was great. Even through like all the pop culture nonsense that I've experienced, like most of this came in fresh to me, and it was great. But we're going to dive into a bit of a chat about the film and talking about essentially like all of it. But before we do, Sue, did you want to read through some fun facts for me?
Mhm. Yeah, we've got quite a few here. So this movie was written, directed, and produced by Mel Brooks and approved by George Lucas. And so it was the first legend story to be brought to the screen. It had a budget of 22.7 million US dollars, and this film only brought in 38.12 million to the box office. Starring Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman, Daphne Zuniga, John Candy, and Joan Rivers, this film first released in theaters on the 10th of December, 1987, just over 4 years after the final film in the trilogy it parodies. Rated 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb and 3.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, it features cameos from all sides of the sci-fi genre and pokes fun at the tropes and story beats made famous by the sci-fi films of that era. It features many fourth wall breaks and outlandish jokes at the expense of the industry. After George Lucas read the script and loved it, he had his VFX company, Industry Light and Magic, come on and help with the visual effects. And Mel Brooks personally obtained George Lucas's full permission to parody any and all things Star Wars related, on the condition that absolutely no merchandising of any kind be produced from this movie. That's why all the yogurt and Dinks do his joke about merchandising in the film, and why, of course, there's no merch for it. Mel Brooks originally wanted Tom Cruise to play Lone Starr, but he was probably too cool for it. And this original script for this movie was 247 pages, with a first cut of over 2 hours and 20 minutes before it got trimmed down to 96 minutes. And I don't know about you, but I need that cut. Is there anything you...
We could talk about that so much longer as well. I want this is one of the things that I miss about physical media, because I would love watching movie, and then I'm big on audio commentaries, I'm big on deleted scenes, I'm big on making ofs, like all of that stuff, and like you don't have it as much anymore, you know, because everything's like streaming.
Yeah.
And it's wild because I think like Disney Plus does a great job of just having like extras there, and you can click it,
Yeah.
and like for example, I love talking about like Last Jedi on Disney Plus has an audio only cut where it's like no dialogue at all, it's just music and movie, and it works so incredibly well. You can just go on Disney Plus and just click and watch that. And otherwise, you have to have the like the 4K Blu-ray to have access to that. So that's a really cool thing, but not enough other like streamers actually like do that, which feels like a missed opportunity.
Prime Video does as well, but I think it depends on the show, or it's not for all of them.
Prime Video has X-ray on there, which is like a really cool feature too. Like given that Amazon owns IMDb, like it's cool that you can connect those two things. That's what you do, you know. And yeah, I love that. But yeah, Pat, any other like fun facts you've picked up in your 422 million watches of this film?
Yes. So the special effects supervisor was Peter Doran, who did Superman, the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Really cool.
Yes.
Oh.
And it was, I was reading an article about like from American Cinematography, and he was talking about like how him Mel Brooks basically brought him on just to like go over the price of the special effects over a joke, and they'll be talking like, okay, Peter, how much does this one cost me? It'll cost this much. Okay, well, let's scrap that. It's too much. Then we can do 2 smaller jokes in that place for that price. And he was like, he just like had to rein in Mel Brooks, because he would have been all over the place. And like, as you guys mentioned, Industrial Light, Magic did a lot of the post production, and that's because George Lucas was like, you know, you can't do the merchandising, but I love this film so much, and I know you want it to be as like good as possible, so I'm going to give you Industrial Light and Magic to work on this. And then the guy who did the models and the ships for episode 5 did Spaceball 1.
Really?
He made Spaceball 1 because Apogee was the main model maker, but he came in with Apogee and like did. I have his name written down somewhere. Where is he?
I was gonna say the model ships, because they zoom in on it a few times, obviously parodying the Star Wars movies, but they're very good quality, and that's one of the things that I think makes this movie so good and holds up, you know, today, is the quality that went into it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a big thing with Mel Brooks with this one, because it's a sci-fi movie. He could easily have cheaped out on the special effects. Up till Star Wars, up till Lucasfilm, many people were.
They didn't take it that seriously. They were just like, it's like check out green screen on there, it's fine. Obviously Star Wars was revolutionary in that sense, and it shows. It's like I look at episode 4 and episode 5 as like some obviously the best looking movies of their time, cinematography wise and visual effects wise, of course. But so your point before on like the Spaceball 1, like the opening shot, we were like really close on the ship, and it's just this huge model that's just like, it just keeps going and going and going. I'm like, that's a big ship.
Yeah.
And the opening crawl is so good as well. Just that if you're reading this, you don't need glasses.
You don't need glasses. Yeah.
Did you guys recognize Spaceball 1's theme? Did you guys recognize it? Joth.
Yeah.
and then when it's tractor beaming in the Mercedes, the space Mercedes, it has a shark mouth.
I didn't notice that. Oh, it does. That's so good.
The details.
Oh my God. Like, it's so brilliant in its execution. We'll get into all of that, but quickly, just for listeners, before we do go any further, all of these conversations are not spoiler free. So we're not necessarily doing a play-by-play from the top to the bottom of the film, but we are talking about the film with the expectation that you've already seen it. So it's always cool to go and watch the film and then come back and check out these episodes later. Obviously not on demand, but if you do want to hang out in chat, that's totally cool as well. Because either way, you'll obviously be able to join in the conversation and answer whatever questions you want. And we might even entice you to go and check out this film. But yeah, if you do want to know what film we're watching next week in advance, just got to stick around to the end of today's episode. Where we'll share a clip with our next guest and our next film. So yeah, that's pretty much all we have there. So let's jump right into it. So between the three of us, one of the things that we all wanted to kind of talk about was related to like Mel Brooks and his works of film generally are like a product of their time. And so there are some things here that like pop culture wise have stood the test of time and they're funny and they make sense. And then there are other parts of this film that are probably a little bit questionable watching in the current era. Who wants to kick us off?
I can.
Pat, hit me,
Go for
buddy.
it.
Because I don't think this gum exists anymore. I don't see it around. But when President Skroob is is walking into the little command center after his mishap with the beaming technology, he walks up to two twin actresses. Those actresses are from a gum commercial by Double Mint. And he it was a popular commercial at the time, and he says, "Tell them to chew the gum," and that's reference to their commercial because they're the actual actresses in the commercial.
That's some deep cut lore.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here being like, oh, they've got an alien reference at the end of something. You're like, bro, they referenced gum commercial. So
it's like if you weren't around at the time watching it now, I'm like, chew your gum. It's like, okay, he's telling two blondes to chew gum.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have picked up on it at all. It's one of those things that just like, and like we were saying, that there are so many moments in the film where like there are jokes that do like they're literally timeless, and that's my favorite thing about comedy, because I find that the comedies that I don't kind of align with so much are the ones that feel like what's the word, like of the era, not kind of like visually or in like the style of jokes, but when it's like if you're telling jokes, like for example that one with like the gum thing, it's like I don't get it now. And if there's lots of jokes like that, like I think there was the what's it called, the Sherlock and Holmes thing with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell a few years ago, and then making all these like MAGA jokes and stuff in there, and it's like, what, like it doesn't make sense here. And you know, 10 years from now or whatever, like, you're gonna watch it and hopefully not be thinking about any of that kind of stuff at all. But there are there's so much like slapstick humor in here and use of the background and the props and everything. And I was saying one of my favorite jokes is very early in the film, when we go over to like find if the Mercedes Benz is on the scope, and Dark Helmet kind of goes over to the screen. He's just like, "What's going on here?" Just kind of like pulls back. It's like, that's the coffee machine. The radar machine's right next to it. And I lost my shit at that. I'm sitting in my bed.
Yeah.
Me, a 30-year-old man, just like losing my shit at a Mr. Radar and Mr. Coffee joke.
Oh, and if you're paying attention, that gag is continued throughout the movie. Because when they bring up the cassettes, where they have all the filmography, the library is called Mr. Rental.
It's
I
actually
didn't see the
wild that they
title,
rent
but
their
it's
own
all of
movie.
Mel's.
It's mental, and like it's wild that there's another joke later in the film where they rent their own movie and they're watching it, and I'm just like, this is
I loved
elite.
it.
I can't
I
deal
loved
with
it.
this. Marley in chat says that Spaceballs is so top tier, and he thinks he loves Life of Brian a little bit more. And he said it's hilarious. He didn't pick up on the Alien reference until a few years ago because he just watched Alien for the first time last year. But I was reading that on the Alien reference, Mel Brooks was talking John Hurt into coming in and doing like a quick little cameo and just like, oh, you know, come here, like just like reprise your alien character, will be funny. And then like on the day he got there and they realized it was this kind of whole elaborate sequence where he was going to have to like recreate it, and he's just like, well, I'm here, I guess we may as well.
It's like, not again. It's one of my favorite lines in the whole.
At the
And
delivery,
he's not main
it's
character.
fantastic
He's
too.
not. It's like.
Yeah, it's actually so perfect, and I think it's one of the things that the film does so well, because it's like it's parodying like everything, right? Like it's got it starts kind of a Star Wars and it does kind of expand from there, and by the end of the film we're like it's just wild.
But the thing about it, he writes all these parodies into this universe, this Spaceballs universe, and it all fit. It doesn't feel like he's chopping it up. It makes sense to the universe that they're in. And I think it's one of his, like, he's so well at writing and story building that it's one of those prime examples of it.
Yeah, and it's like jokes on jokes on jokes, like they keep coming. Sue, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, and I think that's actually one of the beautiful things about sci-fi is because it's endless possibilities. You can create a world where you can pull in all of these elements from these different sci-fi stories and still have it meshed together. And you're right, he did it in a really good way, bringing all of these different elements in and bringing them in and parodying them without making fun of them.
Yeah, it's a
like
celebration,
it was very
right?
tasteful. Exactly. Like it's like, yes, this thing, yes, we're kind of making fun of it, but we're not, making fun of it in a bad way. We're not, looking down on it. It's actually appreciating that art, what came before, and then pulling it in and doing like a tasteful take on it, and then bringing it into the full story and making it sense with the full story.
Because they could have goofed up that that scene with John Hurt, but the puppetry, the mechanics of the actual effect was done so to detail of how it's done in Alien. Down to like the little spatial expression on the puppet itself.
And like on the topic of like a lot of the like practical effects that they did, one of my favorites that was also like revolting to look at is a Pizza the Hut.
Oh man.
So when you were watching that, and I'm imagining somebody on top with like a bag of liquid cheese, just pouring it on top of a guy, like that has to be what was happening there. Like,
yeah. I mean, they kind of they like took Jabba the Hutt, where we were all like also supposed to be kind of disgusted by him, right? Like by his look and also exactly right. And then they're like, well, let's take it to the extreme.
And his tongue is a giant pepperoni.
Yeah, that was hard to look at. Honestly, it's just like it's just like
we were talking about gore earlier. Pizza gore.
That's it.
Yeah, no, this was it was.
Pizza the Hut was more uncomfortable to watch than the Substance, like confirmed, 100%.
Yeah.
Mental.
But I love that they also like they keep referencing back, like whenever they introduce a joke or something, they keep referencing back to it, like Prince Valium. First of all, calling him Valium and like making him sleep throughout the entire like that was just brilliant. And also another thing too is like they bring in a lot of like Disney references. So to me that was like Sleeping Beauty, but also like invert, it's him who's constantly sleeping. But yeah, like they keep referencing him all the way to the end. Same with Pizza the Hut. They don't just like show him in that one scene, and then once they no longer need him, just completely forget about him. We actually do get to see what happens to him in the end.
That's a really
I don't even know if it would be called cannibalism or what. He ate himself to death.
Yeah,
or cannibalism or something like that. But it's a really good point, Sue, because I feel like in a movie like this where the jokes are just coming and coming and coming and coming, it's like you could just like lose a bunch of stuff and just have things be like just a random call out. But like, the fact that things do continuously come back again and again and again and again, like shows that there's actual thought in these jokes, and they're just like, oh, that's funny, put that in. Oh, that's funny, put that in. It's like, it just keeps going. Like once we introduce yogurt and we get to merchandising, like the film from then onwards just has all merchandising in the background, like Spaceballs, the cereal, 100% sugar. It's like
toilet paper.
The toilet paper is so good.
For the Skroob's bed sheets, Spaceball the sheet.
Yes, the bed sheet.
Yeah. And when Dark Helmet's playing with the Spaceballs toys.
Yes.
Just like making them kiss and stuff. Apparently that wasn't actually in the script either. They came up with it like on the day.
Yeah.
Oh really? Yeah, I love the line.
Colonel Sanders, which is, by the way, best villain name
best
ever.
Name.
What's his name? I have all these. George Wyner. Rick Moranis says that scene is all due to him, and I couldn't have done it even better if I came up with the idea myself or it was scripted and stuff. We just had these figures how to do something, and he just comes and he does.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from that scene is like, "No, sir, I didn't see you while playing with your toys, sir." He's like, "Good." He walks down.
I have these Star Wars 6 scale figures, like from Sideshow. The first thing I did when I got my Luke Skywalker and my Mando Din Djarin figures, I recreated that scene. It's one of my TikToks. It was one of my best. It was one of my best TikToks, and
that's so good. Those
so
6 scale figures are so great as well. The detail on those things is unfair. Did you guys see they did a range of Bad Batch ones where they made like the Bad Batch characters more like like released like in line with Tamora Morrison, and then they released
Yeah.
that. They looked so cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is
And
wild
then,
to see Rex look a little bit more real. Like Tamora Morrison with bleached hair is like it's an interesting look.
Oh yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
always thought of Rex as like bald, and then it was like his head hadn't tanned, and then it was like no, it's like bleached buzzed
It's actually hair.
Yeah.
You're right. How does he maintain that at war?
I don't know. It's probably one of the easy ones. He
Bottle
probably looks
of
at Anakin
bleach?
and goes, "Get that lightsaber out. Just kind of give me a close shave."
Hey,
I mean, keeping that color, like the shaving is easy, but the keeping the color,
Mm.
because he's constantly shaping it, right?
You know the clones are dedicated to their looks. They
Yeah.
You know that they have all the products for the man care.
It's like, what did you got in there? Is that like a little ration pack and some like Bacta like little tubs? It's like no, that is
No.
bleach. Oh, for like cleaning wounds and like blood out of you. No, it's not. It's mental. The depths of Star Wars lore.
Yeah. But going back
I wanted to
to
mention. Oh, so go ahead.
back to
Go for
your Prince Valiant,
Mhm.
Valiant, which Valiant is a King Arthur character, and that's where he
Yeah.
comes from. But Prince Valiant is actually referenced in Beetlejuice.
Oh,
Yes,
like the first
when
Beetlejuice?
first Beetlejuice, which came out a year later.
Mhm.
When Lydia is talking about Lydia, her stepmother, Lydia's asked, "Where's your mother? Where is she? Oh, she's sleeping with Prince Valiant."
Nice.
I didn't pick up on that. If I watched Beetlejuice after this, I feel like I would have. But I only saw Beetlejuice for the first time a few weeks ago as well. Actually, it was an
Oh, cool.
awesome film.
Nice.
Not surprising. That's another one of my favorites.
I could see it. I could see it.
That's another classic.
Yeah. And another one where like again jokes on jokes, but they all kind of work because they do kind of connect to one another. They don't just like thrown
Mhm.
at the audience. Yeah, but like in the realm of like coming in like parodying everything, it kind of gets a little bit of like The Simpsons in a bit where you kind of watch it and it's like there's stuff here that's like happening now. Like one of the things that I picked up on was a couple of little story beats that I'm like, the sequel trilogy like ripped some of this stuff off. Like there were two that stood out to me. One was putting the liquid Schwartz directly into the fuel line. Like that happened in Solo, like putting the hyperdrive fuel directly into the hyperdrive to get out of there. And I saw that and I was like, hold on, what? I also didn't realize that like all of Tesla's like speed modes were based on Spaceballs speed modes, like ludicrous mode and plaid. I had no idea. I was just like, what? That's such a weird thing to call a car like plaid. Dumb. Nope. It was just a reference I didn't understand.
Welcome to the club now.
Yeah, I can understand all of them now. There's that one, and then it's also watching the like Mercedes-Benz like drift in space, and like drifting spaceships is one of my favorite additions to Star Wars lore ever, and comes from the best Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, written and directed by Rian Johnson. And it looks so like hilarious in this because it's actually a van with wings. Like drifting and skidding in space, and it's leaving skid marks in space, which is so wild.
The Eagle 5 is one of the best spaceships ever concepts ever, and it's just a Winnebago with wings.
A Winnebago, if you will.
And it shouldn't work, but it does so well.
It does.
I mean, again, it's space. It's sci-fi. You can kind of do anything you want with it.
I think that one of the things that's so interesting as well is like by not being beholden to like the design language of Star Wars entirely, it's like inspired by it. But again, you have like what is it? Her like the princess's car is
Mercedes.
They're both Mercedes, I believe. And yeah, so you just got like cars, and then on top of that you've got almost a transformer ship that turns into like a lady with a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that was another one of the jokes.
So cool as well. Yeah.
And the Falcon makes a cameo.
I did see this one. I read it on IMDb, but I don't remember seeing it.
When they're at their space rest stop, and they're showing all the parking lot of all these different spaceships. It's right in the center.
Huh. I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Yeah,
like directly
I think I missed that
see
as
if I
well.
can find him. But that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember like the Millennium Falcon also makes a little cameo in Revenge of the Sith too in the background. I mean, there it makes sense because it's Star Wars, but
Yeah.
it's like, look, if you're working at like ILM, you may as well just like look at the shelf and be like, I'll just grab that little Millennium Falcon and just gonna pop that right there.
Yeah.
No, their chip catalog is like, okay,
Yeah.
you just blind pick and they're like, okay, that seems good.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh, can we talk about that lightsaber fight at the end, or the like? What are they? Are they called?
Yes.
Like they're not called like Schwartz sabers. They're just like it's just your Schwartz,
They-
right? Like
I don't think do they give them a name?
They don't
No.
they don't give them a
No,
name.
yeah.
Because you got the rings, and that's where they come from, and that's it. But
Yeah.
like, so I'm gonna touch on one of the little topics I want to talk about, like Mel Brooks' Jewish heritage and how he uses his films to like push the representation of his culture. So Schwartz is two things. It's the last name of one of the producers or writers and stuff that worked on Spaceball, but also is a Yiddish term for a male body part.
is it?
Is it?
I just thought I
Interesting.
thought it was like the German word for black. That's
It's so Yiddish, and it's like
which I
in
may be
German
like
are, like,
not
our
remembering my
sister-
German properly either. That's what it came to in my head.
our sister languages. So it started out. It came from the German, started out this, but then within the Yiddish community, kind of got subverted to like a
That's
that type of
interesting.
joke,
Yeah.
and so that's why the sabers are held a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's funny that that Dark Helmet is like using his to just like shoot people in the balls all the time too. Like that's just the ongoing joke. Like the hey, you like failed me for the last time. It's like no, no. But the actual fight itself is actually pretty good. Like the choreography of that fight at the end, like it has kind of no right to be as good as it is. Like I was watching, I'm like, this is better than Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in A New Hope. Like 100% it is.
And I think a lot of part of it has to do with not only Industrial Light and Magic doing the post projections for the sabers, but because the foil between Lone Starr and Dark Helmet is written so well, and the way that it subverts the whole Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader in certain parts, but in other parts it really foils them within the story's own story. And
There's that line in the film which is actually one of my favorite jokes in the film and then like in modern history, and it's there's something you need to know about us. I'm your father's brother's sister's cousin's former roommate. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing, which is what you're about to be. The delivery by Rick Moranis is so good, and his performance as Dark Helmet is so good.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite things about Dark Helmet's costume is he has a tie.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
has a tie.
Tights and a tie.
it's an interesting look for him, and even when they're on like the desert planet as well, and he just has like a
Yes.
he's still got his hat on, and his hat's still too big
Safari.
for his head. The safari hat, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how
Safari
committed
look.
they are to that little bit, and it just goes to show like the level of care that went into it. And among all of the costumes, like I know, when I saw John Candy, like I have a very special place in my heart for John Candy. Just literally from like Cool Runnings. I don't know why. When I was a kid, I just watched Cool Runnings, and I just remember watching him and feeling bad for him, in the movie, and then also like being so happy when everything kind of comes through. It's a great movie, Cool Runnings, by the way. But seeing him here dressed as Barf, and that character is amazing, and he just stands out as like he's so much fun, and his costume is so simple. But again, on the desert planet where he's just got his tongue hanging out, and he was walking. The first time I watched that, I was like, was he like eating something? Is that what the joke was? And I kind of went back and watched it, and I was like, no, his tongue's just sticking out because he's a dog and he's panting. It's
Yeah.
like, half man, half dog. I'm a mog.
My own best friend.
I'm my own best friend. I love that. And going back to the details, like if you notice his ears move.
Yeah.
They didn't need to put that in, right? Like that's a detail that they chose to add in order to add to the character and add to the quality of the movie. But it's I'm not gonna say it's unnecessary, but it's like an addition that elevates it that they could have cut
Yeah.
out.
It just goes to
Yeah,
show the effort, right? Like you didn't have to do
Yes.
that, but I appreciate that you did.
Exactly.
yeah.
And it
In
was
the
one of
inter-
my favorite things, seeing it constantly move and reflect his emotional state.
Mm.
in the interview, John Candy was saying like he loved the character of Barf, but that costume it limited him so much because it had robotics, it had puppetry going, it had wires, and so he couldn't
Yeah.
improv as much as he wanted to for the character because of it. But they like the tail was on a wire, and it would constantly move, and the ears were on a system, and it was that reflects. Sorry, that reflects going back to the George Lucas's and the Star Wars puppetry, how detailed and expressive those aliens are, and he carries it over into Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I
The
think-
tail thing was actually one of my favorite bits, where he would like constantly smack
Yeah.
Lone Starr.
I thought it was
And just him, nobody else.
there's that joke that he's because I'm like the tail's so funny, like going and smacking like Lone Star again and again. And there's this moment a little bit later where in terms of like the product of its time, they're like it's really funny that he's using it to like inappropriately like touch somebody that was behind him. And I was watching that and I was just like, okay, this is one of those moments. Because again, it's like you said, it's a bit that is so hilarious of him smacking Lone Star. It's so perfect. And then at a certain point when that happens, and he just kind of leans over to Lone Star, he's like, haha, nah, it doesn't have a mind of its own. It's me committing SA to this person behind me. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe we could have thought about that one just a little bit more.
But
Yeah.
I totally agree, and it leads up into one of the like biggest character moments we've seen for Lone Star because it shows him like how much I've mapped out Lone Star's own hero journey throughout this whole. I did because he does he like Luke Skywalker, like all sci-fi heroes, he goes through his own hero, and when Barf actually does that, he smacks him like he's like, dude, that's not and if that's so different from the Lone Star we meet at the beginning.
That's very true. Because he does have that little bit of that same sort of swag that the that like Luke has in the first movie too. It's like I want to get in the princess's pants, like, and that kind of evolves a little bit more into something more, which is great because they were related. Luckily enough, our main characters in this film aren't related. And we haven't talked too much about Princess Vespa, which fantastic name, by the way. And wild that her home planet is just like, it looks like leftover costumes from one of the other like parodies that they've done. Like they're just dressed in normal like royal gear. It doesn't look like spacey at all. But it's nice. This probably is the closest thing to the first look at Alderaan that we got. And thinking about it now, the Alderaan we got in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, it's like they kind of look a little similar. More inspiration.
Oh no, yeah. The map paintings they did for the background of Dridia were just like so good, and it's like okay, you can tell like they're pulling those like little fantasy bits, and stuff, but then the way that they add stuff onto it, just feels it feels like space. It feels like what Alderaan could have been.
Yeah. Which is still a travesty we didn't get to see more of that planet. But now, watching A New Hope after Obi-Wan Kenobi, it hurts. So that's nice, right? That's nice.
Star Wars, it's all about pain.
They know how to add to it.
Yeah, but they do refer to Princess Vespa as the high maintenance princess. That's kind of like the ongoing thing. And she also, and Johnny just joined in chat and saw your face there, Sue. Hey, Johnny. And he's just calling out to all of us in chat. But it's funny, her license plate had a joke on it as well that I can't remember now off the top of my head. But spoiled rotten.
Did I write that one? Oh yeah.
That was wild as well. But yeah, talk to me a little bit about Princess Vespa and your thoughts on her, Sue.
Yeah, so Princess Vespa, as she's written, again, product of her time, I understand it. The one thing I didn't like is that it was parodying Princess Leia, and they just like took this incredible female character and reduced her into a trope, in this like high maintenance trope.
Yeah,
and they keep bringing that up over and over and over again, which I did not enjoy, given that she was like the only like female. Well, no, there's like a few other female characters, but she was like the main
The
female
primary one,
character,
yeah.
like in the main, exactly the primary one, right? And knowing who she's parodying, it was just kind of like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like you've taken this character who's very self-sufficient, and then again, she's just like they've just turned her into this high maintenance, like
Damsel in
selfish
distress, kinda.
person, damsel in distress who like is making everybody's lives, you know, harder around her, and isn't thinking of anyone but herself, and isn't thinking, you know, it's a direct like opposite to who Leia was, right? Like
Yeah.
thinking about everybody but herself, doing the hard work, putting herself in danger, and not waiting for somebody to come and rescue her. But like, yeah, that was one thing where like if it wasn't parodying Princess Leia, fine, like you can kind of,
It would
you know,
fit within
it
just
was
those tropes.
exactly right. And it's like also like, you know, I think it was in Men in Tights, maybe. I'm forgetting that movie a little bit, but again, like it's like the parodies of those times, like the women were the damsels in distress,
Yeah.
like even with Princess Bride, maybe not, you know, high maintenance and selfish, but very much the damsels in distress, and kind of more just like kind of waiting for the guy to show up and
Yeah.
rescue them. But again, it was just kind of who they were parodying that made this character just feel not
like,
so great. And then even
I was just gonna say, given that Princess Leia was like introduced as like almost like a foil to that, like the opposite, like that was the George Lucas
exactly
subverting that trope a bit, going in and parodying it. Like you go, you know, maybe they could lean to that a little bit more, make her the main character, and Lone Starr is the damsel in distress. That could have been like kind of a funny play too. But as you said, like I think like it is one of those things that like fits the time. Someone else to give it like a complete pass there, but like there are films that this is just kind of what they did. And it'd be nice to see more. I did see that
but there's
like on IMDb and stuff, there's like talk of a Spaceballs sequel. Like I don't know if it's actually confirmed or not, or if it's just like a fan made thing. But like on Letterboxd and on IMDb, there's pages for Spaceballs 2 that just doesn't have a release date.
interesting.
I don't know what that deal is.
Yeah, Mel Brooks has been saying he'd be down and he wanted, but one of the reasons, one, he's not a big fan of sequels. That's why he makes a lot of sequel references in his movies, because it's the satire on the film industry and making satires. But two, like he wants Rick Moranis back, and Rick Moranis has stepped away. He says he wouldn't. Dark Helmet is so iconic in the way Dark Helmet is played by Rick Moranis. He doesn't want to do it without Rick Moranis.
Yeah, I get.
Like,
yeah, and there's obviously like it would be very, very different. I mean, it would be interesting to see, because we don't get lots of like good quality like parody anymore. Like
I was thinking about that. I was trying to think of like what parodies. We don't really even have any. Like forget good quality. I don't think we even have any. Like after all of like the parodies of like the Scream movies and Cloverfield and all of those, like I feel like we got like after that nothing really.
Yeah, I think they stopped like making money on them, and it just like died out. And I was watching an interview with Marlon Wayans, or one of the Wayans brothers. I don't remember which one it was, but he was talking about how like after the first Scary Movie film did so well, they wanted to come back and do the second, and they wanted to renegotiate their contract because like they didn't have much money that they got for the film. I think it was like $20,000 or something they got paid, and they were like, "Come on, we made you a lot of money, like bring us back." And the Weinsteins like screwed them out of it and just kind of like didn't even tell them they were hiring somebody else, and just sort of like, well, we're just gonna go elsewhere, and gave somebody else no money to do it, and it was kind of never the same again. Like the first one's iconic, and the rest of all of those kind of parody films just don't hit the same.
No,
it's because the studios learned the wrong lesson.
Exactly.
And they leaned heavily into the cheap shots. Like Mel Brooks is not afraid to go for the low joke. If it's there, he'll go for it. But he also like weaves it into the story. He weaves it into a purpose and part of a bigger joke. Yeah. Or you have a more sophisticated joke following it right up. And and like you see that like once like the disaster movies hit screen, you can see that type of thought has gone out, and they're just going for like a Three Stooges type of comedy.
Yeah.
And the parodies like make fun of the movies. Like they're like, oh, like these aren't serious movies. Let us make fun of them, as opposed to honoring like the actual artistry behind these movies and these stories and adapting them.
It's like
right?
something about taking it so seriously that like taking the joke so serious and the parody so seriously that does kind of make it stand out. And with one of the things that you'd mentioned too, Pat, around like how the satire in this film, and it's like so meta in how it critiques the film industry as well, not just the film. And then it also has jokes around like and critiques of like clean air, big businesses, like government, like all of that kind of stuff. It's as you said, like these aren't cheap shots. These are like well thought out, structured ideas that are being presented as jokes, and you kind of peeling back the layers of the onion to find that it's actual stuff here.
Because going back, because like Spaceballs, it's the funny nincompoop Empire parody, right? And so George Lucas wrote the Empire to be the Nazi big military industrial threat. So when if you take a look at how Mel Brooks writes Spaceballs, he gives them a purposeful threat too, right? But what's okay? So if the serious one is military industrial complex, what's Spaceballs going to do? Pollution. Because like it's a serious threat. It's a serious topic, especially in the 1980s. All the Clean Air Acts and activist was really cracking down, and the Reagan administration and Congress was really pushing back against it because of the whole big business ties and stuff like that. So he puts that in there, but it's pollution and it's air. It can play off as a joke and make and the way he does it makes actually this nincompoop army empire a credible threat. It actually gives it gives them a threatening presence in the film, even if they're nincompoops.
It actually makes them like, and it's like a very like obviously real thing. And again, how they kind of like play the joke up is you don't have a Death Star race blowing up the planet. You have a vacuum cleaner that's sucking the air out of the planet. And it's so wild how they put that together. That actual like design, that model looks so good. Like from a spaceship perspective, not like a sus perspective, okay? Although she's kind of bad. She's kind of bad. No, anyway, but yeah, putting the vacuum on the shield and just kind of sucking everything out, and the special effects that come from that too, all of the trees being sucked out of the ground and all of the air and stuff coming off the mountain and then just kind of falling back on. That stuff was so well done.
One of my favorite parts of the whole sequence is that when they say activate Operation Vacuum Suck, instead of the ship just automatically doing it, there's a function of a ship that makes a finger move to hit the on button that turns on the vacuum.
That's the best part. And again, it's like layers and layers of jokes, you know, you kind of like you peel them back, and its simplest form, it's like it's a vacuum cleaner, and then it's like, no, but how can we make that funnier? And again, it feels like a lot of thought goes into those jokes, which is what those kind of more recent parody films are missing. It's just like, oh, Spider-Man's like a little like tiny dude, like let's just like joke about him being like a small guy and he's weak, and that's hilarious. It's like it's not funny, you know. But it would be nice
speaking of also
no, please go, Sue.
I was gonna say, with the whole vacuum cleaner thing, it wasn't even just like the one joke and just in that scene. Like they continued with it. They brought in the, I guess, parody of the Death Star, having them go through the head and that button. And there was like a whole thing that was around it as well. It was not just like, oh, we're using this as like just this one funny bit. And then you see it come back in the end with the Planet of the Apes, like when it blows up and everything in the head and the arm, and I forgot that they had that reference. But as soon as I saw it like flying out into space and like going towards that other plane, I was like, oh yeah, the Apes. It was really good, like how much they like take this one thing that they've put a lot of thought into, and they like use it in various different ways and tie it in all of these different ways, and also use it to like make fun of things in a different way. And I actually wanted to ask, the idea of this vacuum cleaner, was that a parody on the Jetsons cartoon?
I don't know. I don't know.
The main like robot is constantly like vacuuming and stuff around, at least in the beginning part of the like the intro to the show. I like that's like an iconic show that I used to watch as well. Like I think it's iconic. I don't know, but the one shot of the maid like constantly vacuuming in the beginning there. I don't know. That was just something that like also occurred to me. Maybe there's
I don't
levels for
know,
sure.
I like the connection either way.
Yeah.
If it is or isn't a direct connection, I love that. And it just
And speaking of,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of also like predicting the future, this was pre-Rogue One, but that whole idea of like the atmosphere opening up like a small section was used in Rogue One.
Yeah, it
Which
was
is kind of like
just another idea stolen.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one that one because I don't think it was Alien 2 because Alien 2 came out the year before, but one of the later Alien sequels, the part where the self-destruct buttons hit, Sanders, Skroob, and Helmet are stuck, and she comes down to Wyner and says, "Have a good day," and that shows up in a later Alien movie. I want to say it's 3, where the self buttons hit and the computer says, "Have a nice day." And so,
And I loved how there was like a cancel button that was out of order.
There's that, and then there's also like I love the special effects that they use for them like going to hyperspeed, hyperspace.
Yes.
Sorry, because it's not really.
Wait, they call it
there.
something else too. They called it hyperactive.
Yeah. But watching like hyperspace with all the different like colors come through, and then think about this because I just realized this too. Remember in their Circus series when they're like jumping between galaxies, and that kind of hyperspace is a little different. That's colorful too. It's like it's bigger. They've gone to ludicrous mode.
Yeah. So
was it colorful because of the Purgles, or was it because they were moving between galaxies?
I thought that because they had that bigger hyperspace ring.
Oh, you're right. So they're going fast. They're going ludicrous
anyway. Yeah, but I feel like that big hyperspace ring is literally like ludicrous mode, and I feel like that show would have been a lot better if Thrawn was like, "Punch it, let's go ludicrous."
All I can think now is Thrawn flying forward after emergency stuff.
Dude, that would have been so good.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Ahsoka should have
Good thing you're wearing that helmet. That had a purpose. Even like the ridiculously big helmet had a purpose in the end.
The way you just throw him around like that, and it looks like almost to a certain extent there isn't like wires and stuff on it. They've literally just like grabbed him and thrown him. It's like Rick Moranis is a tiny little dude anyway. It's like just throw him.
Yeah.
And when the whole like the colors for Lucasfilm it's a reference, a satire to Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
Because
the visuals there.
When they go faster than light, that goes like this, and then when it goes plaid, it's a reference to the Star Trek the motion picture where they get stuck in a wormhole because their warp drive is malfunctioning, and things go out weird.
That's cool, and it's like that's one of the things we said before. Where it's like, yeah, and because it's like parodying and taking inspiration from more than just Star Wars, you kind of get all these other ideas where even like non-Star Wars fans could potentially come into this and enjoy like lots of aspects of it. Because even if they like hate Star Wars, they'll be like, yes, it's making fun of this stupid series, and then also poking a little bit of fun at their kind of stuff too. So it's good that it gets like a little bit of everything. But it's what you were saying too, Pat, in like it goes to show like the love and care that Mel Brooks has for the genre itself, that among all his parodies, they're not just like you said, he's got the low blows in there too, but there is this kind of care that goes to show that like you probably sat down and watched like a bunch of stuff to understand this and make it work, and yeah, it's always great when a creator puts that much effort in, and it's I know I ramp on about like Last Jedi and stuff like that, but I feel like Rian Johnson in particular is like one of my favorite creatives. That's something that he does a lot. He goes into all the genres that he wants to explore, and it's like with a lot of like love and care, kind of going, we know what's going on here. And George is in chat. Hey George, we're just talking about Spaceballs. But yeah, it's going in and watching some of his films. They know what they're doing. Like you think about like Knives Out, and it's kind of taking that concept of the whodunit and flipping on it. So like who did it, and then it's not a whodunit. It's is she going to get away with it? And then in the end, it kind of comes back into whodunit. And Glass Onion does the same thing. Like all of these films that understand the tropes and play on your expectations for it a little bit. It can only happen if you care about what you're making enough to put that effort in.
Yeah.
And if you understand the tropes.
Mm.
And you know how like the tropes function, because like again, he's
Mhm.
building up he built up a galaxy, a universe, and so when he built up the alien species, they feel a part of the universe. They just don't feel like, hey, here's masks and rubber
Yep.
puppets.
Yeah. The like stormtroopers that they have in here themselves as well are like a really funny design. Combing the desert. Do you think we've taken it a bit too literally?
Oh my god.
And also remembering again, combing the desert is in the Force Awakens, like on Jakku.
Mm.
I think they had it in like the original trailer too. I think the Millennium Falcon's flying over some of the thing. They literally have 2 Spaceballs combing the desert. They're taking all those bits and pieces in there. Like it's wild that they come back and still take inspiration from this. Cool.
A film that you do not expect Spaceballs to show up on but it shows up in is Lion King.
Spaceballs itself. Oh.
So
Lion King.
Well, how does it show up in Lion King?
So it shows up in 2 scenes there. So one, it goes with Scar. He just did the be prepared speech, and he said, and the hyenas are doing this, and says, "I'm all surrounded by all these idiots." That's a parody of "I'm surrounded by all these a-holes." and then it jumps to Iago in the ribcage prison, and he says, "Nobody knows." He's singing, which is a song that Princess
Vespa does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I didn't think of that. Yeah, it's insane how much it's kind of permeated like pop culture still, and there are so many references in here. Like we said, that still like the references like mostly hold up.
They do.
And I feel that like going back and watching more movies, like I'm gonna pick up on stuff that I didn't previously. Like again, those 2 that you just mentioned, Pat, are like insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I think above all else, the film is just like pure, like unapologetic, like fun. That's what they wanted to do. Like they had fun making it. We get to have a lot of fun watching it, and it's one that I can understand how you would go back and watch this 9 times per year, Pat. Like it makes sense to me, dude. Like it's such an easy, breezy watch. I do need a 2-hour cut, but like bar that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
no. I want to know what jokes were cut.
Yeah, like especially some of the stuff that we got here.
Other references.
Yeah, me too. Like I wonder what else they would have put there. They're like, that's too much. And there's so many other little moments too as well, because they have the guy from like Police Academy come in and do his own special effects and stuff. Not special effects, sorry, his own sound effects. And I was reading on IMDb that like it saved the production $1,000 in costs because he was just doing his own sound effects and didn't have to go and make other sound effects. I'm like, that's nice. Yeah, but there's so many like even little moments like that like are still in the film, you know, and like go and show that they found all these unique ways to bring people from all kind of walks of like cinema too, like from all these different kinds of films come in here. Like he didn't need to be in there, but like he's just chilling. Obviously, you've got Mel Brooks himself in the film too, as President Business. Is it his name?
President Skroob.
President Skroob. Yeah.
Which it's funny because Brooks is like saying, I was trying to make an anagram of my own name, but I was off by 1 letter in the wrong place. And so
yeah, literally. It's like his name backwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brooks. Skroob is what it should have been if it was backwards.
Yeah.
He's done Skroob. But that's kind of all you could really make with those letters in that name. I don't know what else you could really do.
And then he was also yogurt.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to look that up and I completely forgot.
Yeah, he's yogurt. And
it was clear that it was like somebody on their knees.
No, and the way he does both of those characters is so well done, because that's a staple of a Mel Brooks film. He is going to be in it somehow. There's always going to be cameo stuff, and sometimes they're quick cameos. Sometimes he's a main character, like he's 2. Blazing
Mhm.
Saddles, he was one of the main villains
Haven't seen
that
Blazing
was
Saddles.
there. Oh, if you like Spaceballs, you're gonna love Blazing. So
I'm going on a Mel Brooks
Spaceballs,
deep dive after this. Like, trust me.
Spaceballs is not one of like is if people rank them according to pop, Spaceballs is actually low on the tier. Blazing Saddles and the producers, which the
Mm.
producers is fantastic. Only Mel Brooks can make a movie about play about Hitler.
Mhm.
So the concept is that these two Broadway writers want to scam rich people into taking the money. So they write a Broadway play to fail, and it's called Springtime for Hitler.
Hmm.
He won Oscars for it,
Wow.
Wow.
and so and it's the music and the production level like on the Broadway play type of stuff for this fake Broadway play goes harder than it should.
Yeah.
Wow.
I need to go into a deep dive of a lot of the films that he's made, because I've only really seen like Men in Tights. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen anything else.
Same.
Obviously I've seen
Halloween-
Spaceballs now.
Because
Halloween's coming up. Young Frankenstein is a really good one.
Yeah, I was
Mm.
reading about that before as well. Young Frankenstein stood out. I didn't know about the producers, but I can add that to my list now as well. And then is it Life of Brian that he did?
You
Life
that
of
was
Brian.
what you were mentioning, right?
It's Monty Python.
Yeah. Oh, Monty Python. Oh, Monty Python's another.
It's so good. King Arthur and Quest for the Holy Grail is one of my favorite.
Oh my
movies.
goodness, that one.
So
many. I will
about
still quote it.
Yeah. So
Actually, La Rush for some reason has been
talk
like.
about NAF core and K core. These type of movies are Pat core.
Yeah. So everything that he like directed is parody. Like he made a silent movie parody, a Dracula,
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, produces History of the World Part 1. Where's History
It's-
of the World Part 2?
He just
That
filmed
was
it.
recent.
He
Oh,
that's
that's
on
what you were
Hulu.
talking about before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
For a while that was just the name Part 1 because again it's his comment on this whole sequel side of thing, and he doesn't really do.
Mm.
Oh,
Mm.
and that
He made a Vertigo parody. High
yeah.
Anxiety.
Oh, he has a whole Alfred Hitchcock parody.
Yeah. That's that
Oh.
one, I think. High Anxiety. Because
Yeah.
that looked like Vertigo to me. Like, I'm assuming he'll poke fun at all of the Hitchcock films.
hmm And so
Insane.
he's in all his movies. And it's also and he does and the way he's entered his movies is so great because we're going back to how he brings in his own representation, his own heritage. That's how he does it. His characters bring in like Men in Tights, Friar Tuck, he becomes Rabbi Tuckerman.
Oh.
Then he comes Spaceballs. He's Yogurt, which uses the Schwartz. And if you listen to how Yogurt speaks, it's very much the old New York Yiddish accent. And so it's very clearly he's supposed to be an old Jewish man.
Right.
And then and leaning back into that, he brings in all his little and things. And the way I explained to how he does his reputations for his culture and his heritage, it's like watching The Nanny or an Adam Sandler film where only these people can do those type of jokes and stuff. Because if you look, Druidia is very much one of the open shots. The opening shot before you get there, the church that Princess Vespa is going to be get married is the Intergalactic Temple Reformed of Druidia. And so it's like the Reformed Reformed Jewish synagogues. When they find out that she's Jewish, Barf says funny, she doesn't look Jewish. And then back to the Princess Vespa characterization that you were talking about, Sue, about her. Lone Starr says that's all we need is a Jewish princess. Now back then during this time, slang, I don't know if it was a slur as much like a term for for the firstborn daughter or the eldest daughter of a Jewish family was a Jewish princess because they got spoiled. They would overdo it, and so that's why she's
Huh.
very much plays into that spoiled brat.
That's really
Okay, I see.
interesting.
I didn't know about that reference. But that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was actually because interesting because Naf and I were talking a little bit earlier about like later on when they do the whole when she's captured and they're like, oh, we're gonna do the plastic surgery. We were like the whole nose thing, but now that the context is there, it's kind of like
Mm.
okay, yeah, like I like they Mel Brooks is the only person who can put that joke in
Yeah.
there, and it being like not so much racist, but it's still supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we were talking before about his like how many awards and stuff he's won too, and I just was looking on his page here, and he actually did end up getting like EGOT, like he's won an Emmy, a Grammy, and an Oscar, and he got a
Wow.
Tony Award for the
Oh.
producers as well. So like in 2001, he became EGOT. And Whoosh in chat said Mel Brooks always has race-related jokes in his films too, which like he does play on those quite a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And the way he does it though, it's really great because Blazing Saddles, when you watch it, you'll see a bunch of those, but
Mhm.
he's making fun of the people who like would see those type of jokes and like laugh at them, like think.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
he's making jokes of the stereotypes that
Yeah.
are
Get
yeah.
that
thrown
they're
around.
constantly using. Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, the film itself is such a easy watch. It's a whole lot of fun. It's so easy to go back to again and again. And like we said, because it takes itself like somewhat seriously as well. You've got like a film that features a hero's journey and a
Mhm.
decent structure to its story that makes sense, and it's not kind of all over the place, and everything kind of has its own what's the word, like they all kind of close their own loop by the end, like we got Pizza the Hut that comes back a little bit later, and all of these pieces that just work so well. I mean, one of the last jokes I want to talk about, which we didn't get into a lot of detail on before we look to like wrap up, is that joke of them hiring their own film and watching it and trying to figure out what do we need to do next. And then also, there's those little like fourth wall breaks that are in the film that are so cool. That one in particular though was one of my favorites. I saw it and I was like, this is
Brilliant.
everything.
That's when you know there's so much like thought and talent behind the movie, because this is something that like they thought up themselves, and like it's not just breaking the fourth wall, like because they do it a bunch of times, like Dark Helmet bumps into the camera, like he accidentally hits somebody with the saber, like he does it a bunch of times, but this like particular fourth wall break takes it to the next level.
It just like it keeps going. It's like I feel like all of the other ones are things that like I could imagine seeing in like, for example, like a Deadpool film, right? Obviously turning God to the camera going, you got all that, kids? Like it's like, okay, cool, like there. And then you've got panning to the side and all of the like sound guys there, and he's like knocking the dude off of his ladder and stuff. And then also you didn't capture them, you captured their stunt doubles. That one was so great.
Yep. That was so good.
This one in particular stands out as like my favorite joke in the film though.
And it's the one I feel like holds up the most for today, and his commentary that he's making with that joke, like even like is more poignant now today with streaming, because the whole thing goes off with Colonel Sanders once they get the thing. Dr. Helmut asks Colonel Sanders, "How can we have it? The film is still being made." It's like, and he goes, "Instant cassettes." In the store, the film studios are putting them in the stores before even the finish, and now with streaming, you'll see the movie even before they're out of theaters.
I think there's also commentary there too on like how, in terms of putting something in the theaters before it's finished, it's like a lot of the commentary that we have around like what was happening with the MCU for the last few years, where like these do feel unpolished. It feels like you're just putting it out to get it out, and it's not finished, it's not ready. I feel with Star Wars to a certain extent as well, with some of the shows, like look like Mando season 3, and I'm like, I would have waited another year. I would have, like, it's fine. And in some parts of it just feel like rushed, or they don't feel like they have as much like love to them because they're trying to get to the next thing. And it's what you were talking about before, Pat. Like it's wild that he kind of predicted the future of the industry a little bit here,
Yeah.
by just being honest with us about it. You know what I mean?
And that goes
Mhm.
back to like one of the main central themes of this thing is like the capital is overcapitalization of the film industry, and he makes that the first joke you see is with the merchandising, because he gets that from George Lucas. It wasn't originally in the film when he went, because George Lucas was a big fan of Mel Brooks, and he was excited that Mel Brooks was saying, he's like, let me see it, let me have my lawyers look over, because I'll be happy if you do this. Just want to make sure everything's copacetic. And he says, he comes back and says, okay, your toys that you have in the film too close to Star Wars. The lawyers say you can't do it. So as long as you don't put out the actual figures, you're fine. So he goes to the merchandising, because before Star Wars, merchandising on a movie was not really a thing. That's how
Mm.
Lucas was able to get them from Fox.
Yeah.
Because
They
Fox
didn't care, right? They were just like, yeah, whatever,
No.
bro. Have the rights to merchandising. Stupid. We're gonna make so much money off this movie, brother.
And then and then he does, and then back to like the unfinished movies on instant cassette. It's that the studio's trying to capitalize as much as thing, and he does it again. And we'll see if Spaceball 2's The Search for More Money ever gets made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, if they do make a
The
sequel to this,
title
they
that he
need to
used
call
for
it
that one.
Yeah.
Search for more money.
Hmm.
Like,
I-
and that's the thing. Like a lot of sequels, and even outside of like sequels, a lot of what you see movie studios are doing today are grabbing these stories, these franchises, these properties, these IP properties from like back in the day, and they're just rehashing them. Either they're doing remakes, or they're doing sequels, or they're doing spin-offs. Like they're not creating new original content as much anymore. At least the bigger studios are not willing to take those risks as much. It's
Yeah.
just taking the stuff that has succeeded in the past and just keep adding on,
Hmm.
right?
I was
And
thinking
it's
that a
funny
little
that
too.
another. Mhm.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that's another sort of like unintentional prediction of the movie industry.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the little filmography that they have with where the
Mhm.
film Back to the Future also made this joke, but the Rocky numbers, you have Rocky
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
Rocky 2, Rocky 3, all the way up to like Rocky 25.
Yeah, I think they had like 80 something in this one,
Yeah.
and it's
It's-
true, right?
It is interesting that too, that kind of like you can expand that commentary to exactly as you were saying, so with like you think about
Mhm.
something like The Force Awakens and A New Hope, and like kind of the story beats come from A New Hope, and in here you're like, we don't know what's gonna happen, so we need to watch the film to understand where it's gonna go. And it's like, I can imagine them
Yeah.
sitting there going, we don't have an idea for this, let's just watch A New Hope and
Exactly.
see if we can remake it and make it newer. Just
Yeah.
copy my homework but make it a little bit different.
The scene actually does remind me of, and in a good way, She-Hulk,
Yeah.
when she does the fourth. You guys have seen? Okay, she does
Yeah.
the fourth wall break at the end. I think that was. I don't know if that's related to Spaceballs at all, but that isn't like another really cool way of doing a fourth wall break. That's not just a fourth wall break, like because she goes into the writers' room and she's like, "What are y'all doing? Like, change it up."
Yeah.
It's kind of the same sort of level. Like in terms of like the storyline and
Yeah.
not joke, but in terms of using that fourth wall break, it's
Oh,
like that, taking it and using it in a quality way.
It's actually a brilliant
I-
correction that you made.
Yeah, and I think for the fourth wall break, the fourth wall break has been a staple in storytelling since like way back as far as Shakespeare in his plays,
Mhm.
and I think it's a staple of storytelling of writing that kind of gets looked down and lost nowadays.
It's cheap, yeah.
Mhm.
And the thing that if they're going to do it, they're going to play off for a quick laugh. But if you do it right, if you do it like She-Hulk in the comics, or like how it can progress the story. It can get to the story's themes. It can get to the story's point of view.
Yeah. It's like it
Mhm.
has to kind of fit
It
and
adds
suit
to
what you're
it.
doing.
Yeah,
Like we were saying
exactly.
before, it's not just like throwing something in for the sake of it, like having a reason for it. But yeah, this film does
Yeah.
that so well. And
Mhm.
interplays those fourth wall breaks with jokes around the genre and the tropes, and then also within having like an actual like story about something, you know, even down to like at the end with Lone Starr and his little necklace and figuring out what that means. It's like a part of the story, and he comes back and
Yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, you're like royalty, like you can go and marry the prince, like it's okay, you can marry the princess.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
ends, you know, we all get like this happy ending for the film as well. So Yeah,
Mhm.
I loved this, dude. This is a really great pick, Pat. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for bringing this on the podcast.
I honestly was like, I've been watching up the films, and I'm like, I was worried because like you guys were doing like some serious hard hitter dramas, and that's why you got like those texts about, have you seen this film? Have you seen this film?
That's why you
'Cause
were getting subconscious. You wanted to change it.
and I'm like, but like I was watching, I'm like, this is me, this is what I like, and I have to
Yeah.
be like, I have to be honest, and it's
It is
and
kind of
it's
wild, like looking at season 3 to date and go, we started Singing with the Rain, Psycho, Touches and Seventh Seal, Upgrade. We did Devil's Advocate. We did Twilight, which is a little wacky, and then Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. But like the last few were like Ikaru by Akira Kurosawa, like a film about a guy dying of cancer, like Primer, two friends who travel through time and everything goes wrong, Shawshank Redemption, Spaceballs. And that's the best thing about One with the Filmies later in the year too. Like the fact that like, last year we had 2001 A Space Odyssey in a competition with Rain of Fire. Like the fact that we get to have it like this is just, it's great. So yeah, like I love it. Don't feel bad about that ever. When you come back next season and you want to share
always need
another,
more fun.
yeah, when you want to share another Pat Core film next year and we're watching like all these wild classics, like yeah, you need to bring something like this. Last year Rain of Fire won a One with the Film. It was Kay's pick of the year. So like it beat out all the classics. It beat out Saving Private Ryan. It beat out Come and See. Like, it beat Past Lives. So this is the place, dude. This is the place.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
I love that. It makes me feel so much better.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts, guys, before we jump into cinema a la carte?
Oh, it's just we were talking about this before the stream. Have fun with film.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah, storytelling is you want to get those themes out. You want to get your point across, and film is a great medium to do that, to advocate for something, to some. But you've got to have fun with it. Do not take yourself too seriously. If you do it, it can actually hurt the story.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of films that out there, in my opinion, that take themselves way too seriously, and it hurts the story. And so just enjoy it, and just enjoy a film.
Yeah.
Don't let people's comments or opinions about it, about what is art or what they think is. If you like it because it made you laugh, then it's a good film.
Yeah, I always like to think of it in the way too of like if you think it's that deep, then it is that deep. Like I found meaning in things. There was recently I did a rewatch of Lilo and Stitch, and for whatever reason, that film affected me in ways it never has in my most recent rewatch. And I wrote like a multi-page review of it on Letterboxd, and I was just sitting there like, I understand that people are going to look at this and be like, it's a film about a girl and her dog. And I'm like, no, like I'm seeing so much here and I'm so emotional and it means so much to me all of a sudden that it didn't mean to me, a year ago when there were big life experiences that I hadn't gone through and big things about myself that I didn't know, and I'm looking at her, look at little Stitch and going, look, this is all the bad that you are and this is the good that you are. And I still love you so much that I care about you, even though you're only like this amount good. And I was just like, oh, precious.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer of if you find like depth in the art and you find something that connects with you, like it is that deep and nobody has the right to take that away from you at all. Some people will see Spaceballs and be like, funny, like space movie, stupid, blah, blah, go on. And other people will go and want to write 400-page dissertations on how it's affected and what's the word? Kind of predicted the state of modern media and influenced all of the science fiction that came after it. So it's space for all of it. Spaceballs for all of it, if you will.
Yeah. And it's always good to have a balance of like what you're watching as well. Like there's definitely, like for me, I watch things for fun. Like there's a time when I just want like, I don't want to say mindless fun, but I just want like fun that I'm not going to have to like be thinking about or going through emotions with. And then there's times where I'm like, no, I want like a deep movie that has a message and, go through, or I want to watch a movie that is like very, has a lot of like quality in terms of like the artistry and how it's created and the cinematography and like the skill and, the talent level that's actually showcased, right? Yeah. Like there's a place for all of these different types of movie experiences or show experiences. And, we're humans. We go through a variety of different, emotions and phases and stages, and there's something for each of those.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And good news too, Pat, is we have in chat George, who hadn't seen the film, And now he's sold on
Yeah.
it and wants to go and watch it. Says he feels he needs to watch it now, and he also agrees with all of us. It was
Yeah.
very well said. So thank you for the messages, George. But
Go
we'll
watch
jump
it, George.
on
May the
in.
Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartz be with you. We'll jump into cinema a la carte, and this is how we always love to wrap up our show. It's a little game we made up here. Keegan made it up, so he's with us in spirit today. And this is where we really get to show you the best way to experience this film, and this is using the metaphor of food. So each of us have prepared a little bit of a menu with this week's film as the main course, and then we get like an entree or an appetizer to start, a wine that pairs with this film, and then a dessert to complete your journey. So if you were going to binge watch this, you get to choose which is kind of the best one to do it. So you get to let us know which one is your favorites in the comments below. Let us know which one sucks, which one was okay, and which one was the best, which will probably be mine. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and kick us off with my cinema a la carte, and then we'll dive into you guys, see if you can keep up. Okay. So my cinema a la carte starts. It's called. We're kind of taking this seriously, I think. So that's what you ask for on the menu. Okay, and where we're gonna start is we're gonna start with this wonderful little appetizer of a film called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it takes
not.
some of those. It's like, and you'll get the idea. This is kind of the theme that I'm going for here. It's not quite like scary movie parody, but it's like understands the tropes and is a little bit of a satire on them. You know, more satire than parody. So Bodies, Bodies, Bodies does that. Stars Rachel Sennott. It's got what's his name? The guy who dated Kim Kardashian that was covered in the tattoos, Pete Davidson, in it. That was one of the big draws. It has for you, Sue. It's got Lee Pace in it as well.
I know it has.
It's actually it's a really cool film
It's on my
that kind
list.
of pokes fun at again a lot of the tropes of those like whodunit slasher kind of films, and it's really funny. It's really self-aware, and it wraps up in just kind of the coolest way possible. We then get to Spaceballs as our main course, a nice meaty little boy. Weird phrasing. Gonna cut that from the post.
No, Mel Brooks would want you to keep it in.
We're going to pair this with the film Bottoms that came out last year. It was one of my favorites of the year. I think it was number 3 of the year for me last year by Edebiri. Sorry, starring Ayo Edebiri and Rachel Sennott again. I'm seeing a theme here. I didn't realize that I was picking all the films with Rachel Sennott in it. But again, it comes in and takes from those tropes of like high school coming of age films. You know, it's the guy's always trying to get the girl and doing like crazy things to try and get the girl. This film is a bunch of like a pair of two queer women who lie to everyone that they've been in juvie, and they start a fight club at school to teach girls how to protect themselves so that they can hook up with the girls, right? And it's just like, when you watch it, it's so aware of what it's doing. And my favorite thing is how, so like I was watching, I don't know anything about like college football. Everything I know about college football comes from like media. And this film takes all of those ideas of like college football and just amps them up like crazy. You know, they're playing football in the background. They're always wearing their uniforms when they're in class. It's just like, it's so silly. It's like that culture of super masculine, like guys playing like football with one another. And it just kind of plays on that. It's like, you know, when you dial up, it's like when you look back at the action movies that like a lot of the like red pill kind of people will look at as like the staple, like what masculinity is. Like if you go back and watch them, like they're really like gay coded. Like it's always like, I watched Top Gun and I'm like, these are your heroes of what a real man is. They want to kiss. They want to kiss. That's what they want right now. That's what they need. And this film just like leans on that like so much. And then we're going to end with a wonderful little dessert of Scream, which again, just satire, poking fun, understands its tropes. Directed by Wes Craven, who made a bunch of... I watched this for the first time a week and a bit ago. I've seen the first 2 now. I'm working through the series. But I loved it so much because it's... And even like the sequels, making jokes, but sequels suck. They always just do this, and it's just... It knows what it's doing. It's so clever. Yeah, so that's my breakdown, my little satire. It's starting with a entree of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. We go to a main of Spaceballs, and we pair that with a wine of Bottoms. And then we go to dessert, which is Scream. So that's my pick. Pat, did you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. So I call this the upside presented by the Lift Laugh Club.
Okay.
And so we're gonna start off with the appetizer with the little devilish egg type of thing to lead us right into the nice like main dish of Spaceballs is Galaxy Quest.
Oh, sick.
And
Great choice. I hate you. I wish I picked that.
and
Oh my God, no, I
was
couldn't
Tim
say no.
Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Severus Snape himself. And if you like Spaceballs being a sci-fi parody, this is a sci-fi parody, but on the opposite side, more meta, talking about the actors himself, that con life before con life became a big thing. And Tim Allen, a washed-up actor who played a Captain Kirk style character, gets a chance to be a space captain with the rest of his cast in real life. And again, he goes through a hero's journey and he becomes a better person. And it's a fun time. It doesn't get as intricate as Spaceball does. So I think it's a nice little entry into that world of satire and parody.
Wicked. A great choice to start.
Thank you. So Spaceballs, I imagine itself like something light and spicy, like a Jamaican jerk chicken or spice salmon. So for its drink to pair, it's not a wine. I'm going with something that I envisioned was more like a dark spice rum,
Okay.
and that's Princess Bride.
Wicked.
Oh,
Because
I got that one.
great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. And I say it's like a dark spice rum because it's Princess Bride, while not parodying films itself. The book was written that the film is based off as a satire, as having fun with the fantasy novel, and I think it takes itself a little more seriously than Spaceball does. But it has those fun, great moments with the characters, and it just really dives into like what fun can you have when building a fantasy world.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that really balances out the punchlineness of Spaceballs.
It's a great choice. What do you have for dessert?
It's for dessert. We needed something sweet and smoothing. We had a spicy appetizer, spicy main dish. So we need some ice cream, something that's gonna really calm us down, give us a really good feeling. And I went with the Lego Movie.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
Awesome.
thanks.
Great picks, dude. Great picks. Okay, so just lay it out for me from start to finish again. What was your dish called?
So it's called the Upside, presented by the Live and Laugh Club. So it's Galaxy Quest for your appetizer, Spaceballs as your main dish, Princess Bride as your pairing, drink pairing, and then the Lego Movie.
Amazing. And you've said it at perfect timing too, because I don't know if you noticed, but Keegan just appeared in chat too. So Keegan's here and he's listening to you. I wonder if he has a cinema a la carte. Yeah, but it's great picks, dude. It's great picks. There was actually one, as you were talking about yours, that I was guessing might be on there and didn't show up, that I kind of thought of after you said your first one. But Sue, I'm interested to hear your cinema a la carte.
Yeah, so I went with a day of parodies. I didn't actually name my my meal, but I just went with kind of similar to Pat's actually. Just movies that are not necessarily parody movies, but they do parody genres or tropes. So starting off with White Chicks, that one is just a classic.
Great.
I mean, it's White Chicks. What do you want me to say? It's such a good movie. It's so brilliant. The humor is incredible. The acting is great. It takes itself seriously enough, but it still keeps it fun. Like when they put on the costumes, nobody actually thinks that they look the same, but everybody's, pretending that they're the same. It is so good. You've got, great cast. Terry Crews,
made him.
That one is just an instant classic.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It plays on the whole cop sort of trope, which is really good. And it's got obviously the Brando brothers, Marlon Brando and I forget his
Wayne's
name.
brothers.
Anyways,
yeah?
Wayne's brothers. Yes,
I love
Wayne's
that they
brothers.
play multiple characters in the film too. Like they're playing the guys at the start, and it's just again another film that would not be made today ever.
No.
Yes, and also could not be made by other people. It's very. If they hadn't made this movie, it would have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of
everything.
Everything. But because they made it, it's kind of you can kind of join in the fun with them. Obviously, so White Chicks to start. Main course, Spaceballs, obviously. And then the wine pairing, I did have Princess Bride, but I do have an alternate I could go with. Hot Fuzz Again,
pick.
another
Oh.
sort of like parody type movie. Hot Fuzz, the very first time I watched that movie, I was so mind blown by just how it kept going. And it didn't feel long, but like
Mhm.
every time you think it kind of is about to end or you understand what's going on, they just like take you to just U-turn, they do a 180. They like
It's the
surprise you in a new way.
it's the Tolkien what's it called, and Pixar, like Pixar and Tolkien both this lot.
Mhm.
It's out of the frying pan into the fire. That kind of, it just, you
Yes.
just keep, oh, we got out of it, no,
And
we're
it just
nothing.
and it just keep exactly, and it just keeps going, and it gets more ridiculous as you go on with it.
Fun fact, did
And
you know
again, it's
Peter
just
Jackson
another
is in that
classic.
film? Like Peter Jackson,
No.
director of Lord of the Rings, is in Hot Fuzz.
Really?
Yeah, he plays the Santa Claus that they catch early, like at the start of the film or early in the film.
No.
That's his cameo. Peter
Oh.
Jackson is in the Santa Claus suit.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
great.
But yeah, everything
And
Edgar
that's
Wright is like great pick.
so good. And it's another one of those parody movies that does take it seriously. Like they're here to make this movie for you to enjoy, that parodies like the tropes and the genre, but does it in a serious way where they're not making fun of specific things, but they're playing off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, really enjoyed that one. And then for dessert, I didn't go with something sweet because we are in October and it is coming up to Halloween. I went with Renfield.
Great film.
That one, yeah. So that one, it kind of does play up on some of the tropes a little bit, and it doesn't take itself too seriously in parts, but it also like brings in a lot of sort of like these different tropes and genres that Spaceballs has. Like it has the romance, it has like the like Renfield questioning himself and trying to kind of like break away a little bit, just kind of like with how Vespa's trying to break away from what is expected of her.
Yeah.
And it's just an overall fun movie as well. Like it has, you know, it plays on the vampire sort of like scary trope there, and then just takes it again to ridiculous extremes.
That's a lot of fun, that one as well.
I'm a big
Mhm.
Nicolas Cage fan, and I'm
And Nicolas Cage, exactly.
I'm a big Bram Stoker's Dracula fan too. It's one of my favorite novels, and Gothic horror is another Pat Core thing. And so it's a really great choice too.
Yeah, that fantastic choice.
And again, it's parody, taking it seriously, doing it in a very tasteful way. And there are, you know, obviously like references and things like that to the genre, to specific movies, but again, they do it in a very tasteful way. And it has Shohra, I always forget how to say her last name, who plays Renfield's mother in the movie. She's an amazing actress. I love her. She's Iranian. She's in a bunch of sci-fi and fantasy shows and movies that I really enjoy. And she has like the iconic voice. But yeah, so like great cast, great story. I really enjoyed it.
Great picks. I actually think like I will happily take the L on today's cinema a la carte if people pick both of yours, because like they're great. And Sue, just line yours out for me again from top to bottom.
Okay. So I've got appetizer as White Chicks, main course for Spaceballs. Wine pairing is Princess Bride, but then I switched it to Hot Fuzz because Patrick had Princess Bride. So wine would be Hot Fuzz, and then dessert Renfield.
Amazing. And there's two more that I thought of just in terms of like recommendations off the back of this that I'll give you guys as well. Like one of them I'm sure you've seen, the other one maybe not. But one of the ones that I thought would pop up on yours, Pat, was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That was originally on the wine pairing pairing, and I'm like, because and it has to be the one with Bilbo Baggins actor.
That's the one I've seen.
Not the British TV show.
Yeah,
it has to be the movie because it came out because of the British TV show. And this, if you ever want to dive into more Spaceballs lore and stuff, it came out the same time as Spaceball the animated series.
The Spaceballs animated series?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Where do I watch that?
I think the last time I saw it was on Prime.
Okay.
I don't know if it was there anymore. Yeah. Have you ever seen Star Trek the animated series?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've not watched any Star Trek actually, bar the trilogy of films that came out.
Yeah, same.
Star Trek is great. I'm a huge Trekkie, besides being a Star Wars nerd. But no, it's very much like it has that same feel, like more low budget. The series is more goofy than what and it didn't last very long. But I watched it for the first time a couple years ago. I had fun with it.
Mm.
I was a little. I think I came into expecting a little bit more from it
Mm.
Mm.
than it was, but it ended up being good.
Yeah. It's funny, like as you're saying that, like I also, what came to mind was Star Wars Detours, the show that was cancelled, that was by like Seth Green and stuff. That was like the same guys who did Robot Chicken. We're gonna do an animated Star Wars show. I don't know if you've seen about it, Sue, but look up on YouTube Star Wars Detours, like a CG animated Star Wars show that was like essentially Robot Chicken cross Clone Wars, like that kind of vibe. But there was that, and then the other one was obviously like Robot Chicken too. But the other film that I'll recommend to both of you that kind of fits within this genre that we've all kind of been in, that kind of satire, came out this year. Sue, you may have seen it at TIFF, I'm not sure, but Thelma. Did you catch that at TIFF?
Thelma, I don't even know if it was.
Okay. So
I don't remember seeing it
with one of my friends. It was absolutely the
I
winner
remember
of the Melbourne
seeing it.
International Film Festival for me. It is essentially a really old lady gets scammed out of like $10,000 or something like that by like AI stuff, and then she wants it back. Nobody's going to do anything, so she goes John Wick to get her money back, like a grandma.
June Squibb.
June Squibb, yeah, and it
It's
is
amazing.
actually phenomenal. Like one of my favorite films of the year so far. It plays on all of it's very much like it's a satire of the like Mission Impossible films. Like it's literally a Mission Impossible film, and it's the best Mission Impossible film I've seen in the last like 5 years easily. Like smashes Dead Reckoning out of the water. Like it is so good.
That is going on my list.
I think you guys will have a great time with it. If you're just showing in theaters, I do recommend, because like just with the audience is great. But if not, you know, like with friends or with whoever, I recommend with people to check this film out. Though it is a great time on your own anyway.
Another alternative one I had for the appetizer was Scrooged, the Christmas Carol. It's I'm forgetting the actor's name. Ghostbusters main actor. Bill Murray is the main character, and it's the Christmas Carol, but it's set in this like late 80s, early 90s time period, and he is the CEO of a television company, and the television company for the Christmas is putting on a broadcast of a live broadcast of the Christmas Carol, and so that's the main thing that's happening in the background while he's visited by his own 3 ghosts, and so it takes on like mixed jokes a lot of the fun. Well, they're doing a production of Christmas Carol while he's having his own Christmas Carol, and it's all for TV, and so the playing on all the over the top things that early 90s TVs did to get viewers and stuff like that. And it's really good. One of Bill Murray's best films, in my opinion. It's the Christmas Carol that I have to watch every year.
Cool. I'm gonna put that on my list too. I've fallen in love with Bill Murray over the last like year or so. Like I've started watching so many of his other films, and I just thought of him as like a goofy little dude. You know, like the first time I saw him was in Space Jam. And then from there, I think watched Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day was actually the first film we ever did on the weekly watch list here. Me and Keegan had never seen it. But I've done so much Bill Murray since then, you know, like Lost in Translation. I've seen him in so many of Wes Anderson's films, and I'm having a Bill Murray renaissance. He's so good and has so much more depth to him than you'd kind of expect at a glance too. But yeah, that'll do us for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us in chat and obviously listening wherever you are listening. And once again, I'm Naf. You can find me at Seen by Naf, and yeah, that's the best place to find me, I suppose. And Sue, where can people find you, and what can they expect to find you if they do?
Yeah, they can find me at Sue's Theories, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'm kind of trying to be a little bit more active on all of those. Twitter's where I'm most active, but yeah, I will review like shows and movies that I watch. I make earrings inspired by shows that I watch. And I used to do more kind of like live reactions. I don't do them quite as much, but you'll still kind of see some of those pop in.
Awesome. And Pat, where can people find you, and what can they expect to find when they do?
So I'm on a couple places. So same Pat _ Slippers Verbal is the main account that I started with when I came out. That's on TikTok. Trying to get posting more out there. But then I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as St. Pat _ stars. And then here on YouTube coming up really soon, I'm working on editing the very first episode. I'm starting a TTRP D&D channel.
Awesome.
And so the first episode is coming out for the first campaign for the channel is the Power Rangers of my own making. I created my own OC Power Ranger team, and it's going out. Yeah, it's
That's
called Power
so
Rangers.
cool.
It's Power Rangers Atlantis. We go back to Angel Grove, and we just have fun with ancient civilizations and all the Power Rangers shenanigans that you can.
That sounds really, really cool. Keegan will love that as well because he's huge into his TTRPGs as well. Yeah, cool. Well, a final reminder to all listeners that you can find all the links to our individual pages in the description below. And there's also a Google form there that you can fill out if there's a specific creator or film that you'd love to see on the podcast. You can also find one with the film specifically on Instagram and TikTok and all of your favorite podcasting platforms. But for now, as promised, you guys can feast your eyes on the next film on the weekly watch list. See you guys later.
Hey everybody, wasn't that a great show? I'm so happy. Well, it wasn't too great, I wasn't there, but it was good enough, and that's what counts. But I want to let you all know that I am here to announce who is your next guest for next week. And it's me, bitch! I will be back to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, since it is October, since it is the Halloween season, we thought it appropriate to talk about one of the greatest horror movies of all time. One that dives into the deep psyche of the world and something that NAF has not seen. And that is the Silence of the Lambs, which reminds me of a time when NAF once tried to test me, and I ate him out with his liver and some fava beans and a nice Chianti. See you there, bitches.